Gotta take a moment also to feel for Cassie because, I'm sure she didn't expect this to come out at this moment, at this time.
The shit that Lauryn has been able to get away with for 25 years because of one album.
I also think God's Plan was just a monster of a song. Everyone thinks his career is dead. He drops the biggest song of his life.
First topic we're gonna get into today. Last week, CNN got some video footage from 2016 stemming from a physical altercation between Diddy and Cassie, where Diddy, it looks like, kicked her, shoved her, dragged her in a hotel. This is coming from the lawsuit from months ago that came out 2023. And now we got video evidence supporting the claims. Day after Diddy came out with an apology, didn't directly name Cassie because of the lawsuit. But, a lot of outrage, obviously. Curious to hear reactions, thoughts on the situation at hand.
It's terrible. One of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
There were rumors that this was happening. The most puzzling part of just the past few weeks to me has been Diddy's actions, him going on Instagram, posting messages to the effect of, the truth will come out, and he's tired of people lying about him, and enough's enough. And then we see this video, and it just makes him seem crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know in what world that this is not only out there, but just that you've done this.
Mm-hmm.
And your reaction is to say, enough's enough, people are lying on me. Soon the truth will come out. And the truth came out, and it was devastating for him.
It was nasty.
It was terrible.
It was nasty. Trev?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way you can look at this and not just be like horrified. Yeah. And I know obviously a lot of people, of course, read about a lot of the allegations and the suit that came out, and people sharing it. But of course, when you see it, it's right up there. I think I mentioned to you, like, the Ray Rice video, when you really just even with Quavo and Sweet, just one of those videos that's gonna go down as like this infamous thing. And you see, of course, him. He's in the towels. You can see how quickly she's running for, maybe just in that split second, that's her only sort of way to get out. Of course, you see what happens. And that's just sort of one glimpse. Of course, you can't, we can't say, what happens before, after, if this is a repeat pattern or whatever, but just even that alone,
that's
like
enough.
Confirming, all these things. And like Dame said, the fact that, obviously this happened 8 years ago, so you probably think it's not gonna see the light of day. If nobody's found the tape by now, it's not gonna come out. You settled this suit. So this whole chapter you probably thought was closed. And again, just to say oh, the truth's out there, I'll be exonerated, it's all gonna come, it's all, don't believe any of this that's going on. I don't, it's just still hard to wrap your head around. And I think he's, absolutely cooked. And you gotta take a moment also to feel for Cassie because, I'm sure she didn't expect this to come out at this moment, at this time. Obviously it's gonna generate a lot of support and sympathy and empathy for her, which, of course is a good thing, but you never know how she's feeling, having her sort of relive this moment. And now the whole world's talking about it. I don't want some sort of ironically, of course, here we are discussing it, but you just hope that she's dealing with it, as best she can.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I look at it to your point with Cassie, man, for Black and brown women just in general, there's been a thing recently where it's when they speak, oftentimes it's just silent.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need some allegations, or not allegations, you need some proof to cement those claims. And it's unfortunate that it took these lengths for people to now give her the sympathy.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder specifically, hearing the claims, about Puff, like you think about the Cudi shit.
Yeah.
With him allegedly blowing up Cudi's car. You think about him dangling
people
that
off.
person from the balcony. So now it makes you really.
He's turning out to be the person we all thought Suge Knight was.
Which is crazy.
Which is just crazy.
Crazy.
Y'all thought that Joker Halloween costume was just,
it's pretty terrifying.
People thought, it's a little too close.
Yeah. I grew up with this guy as an idol of mine. He was the most successful musician, mogul. He dictated culture for a long time, and as you grow up, you start hearing these things. You start to question, him. You start to question the art that's made. You start to question a lot of things about him. And now, for me, as someone who came up as such a fan of Bad Boy and Bad Boy artists, now it's tough for me to really remain a fan at all. It's tough for me to. I don't think you can erase the music that was made, but it has broken my connection with Diddy in the way that I once had it.
To that point,
as a fan,
because cancel culture is so swift and strong nowadays. I mean, we've seen it with R. Kelly, obviously. In some cases, it happened with Chris, where he's still combating, cancel culture in some degree. To Damien's point, Trevor, do you think, are you done playing anything Bad Boy related or Puff related? Is it time to kind of
I still play Mace. I still play Mace, I think.
Biggie, yeah.
Biggie and Mace.
But no way out.
It's over, I think.
Okay. I was thinking about this yesterday because I was trying to think of like, okay, what is Diddy's legacy gonna be like? What is the future gonna be? Obviously, this is a huge part of his story. Whenever the full Diddy tale is written from start to finish. But I am curious to see, when people talk about art versus artist and this and that, and of course R. Kelly came up as probably the most. I don't want to say a parallel in terms of what they did or what happened, but just this huge celebrity that we've had this giant reckoning on that we'll see what else of course comes out to light with Diddy and some of these court cases and things like that. It'd be interesting because R. Kelly, like, I guess between R. Kelly and Puff, certainly with Kells, the music is so hard for a lot of people to go with just because it feels to them like.
Well, it came out that he wrote some of the songs about.
Right. I mean, it's like, it's literally like they're semi-autobiographical.
Like, You're Not Alone, I think, was further.
You're Not Alone. I mean, AJ Number to Number, all these things that are, these breadcrumbs that people feel like you can't even listen to an R. Kelly song and not have that same context. With Puff, obviously, his catalog is not autobiographical in that same way. So I'm curious to see if people can separate, especially the classic hits from from the situation, and if that's going to change. And of course, he's so intertwined with a lot of other artists. With it's on Biggie records. He's got his own his own stuff, collaborations with Usher and this and that. So,
but then even think about some of the women he's worked with, like Lil Kim and Mary J. Blige.
Total.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to say to the viewers as well, as crazy as this may sound, Puff has not been charged. He is still legally outside and innocent, while, court of public opinion obviously has their feelings, but it's important to note that he has not been charged with anything.
But I will say, sort of on that Kells Diddy parallel, Kells does have, still to this day, a core group that's not leaving him.
Right.
The music is too good. He was about soundtrack of my life. Diddy, I don't think has that same kind of shored up support where it just feels like.
I think Diddy worked with people who have that type of support. Like Biggie is one who people are, steadfast fans of.
Yeah.
My
I think
favorite.
People can sort of, they can keep the Biggie and discard Puff.
Well, I think we're going to see that put to the test. My favorite. I think everyone who knows me, knows this about me. My favorite rap album of all time. I don't think it's the best rap album. My favorite rap album of all time is Harlem World. That's just my favorite rap album. When it came out, it was a good time in my life when it came out. He was like the hottest rapper in the world. Bad Boy was on top of the world.
Yeah.
That album to me has a special place in my heart. So now I have to reckon with this. With these two sides of this, do I just keep it as because it's a Mace album and Mace is his own person, he has no involvement in this.
But it's funny you say that, right? Because somebody like Mace has proven already to be distancing himself.
Tried his hardest
from Puff.
Tried his hardest. Ran away.
Yeah, and with the Cam, a lot of artists now 50 has been like the main antagonist for Puff, where he's just cooking him. allegedly Netflix was the highest bidder in purchasing that documentary 50 made about Puff. But along with 50, I mean, other artists have been either speaking against Puff or just on the topic in general. We saw Cameron on CNN doing the shameless plug.
Looking ridiculous.
Looking ridiculous.
Looking ridiculous.
But I thought even like with that situation, Cam made some valid points after the interview where, you know, he was like, yo, y'all brought me on CNN to bring a man down. You know, why not just talk about anything positive?
And nothing to talk about positive about that man, bro.
Oh,
Like,
he meant as far, not even with Puff. He was just saying in general, like, why can't y'all just hit me up to talk? Why y'all just hit me up to talk about another man's downfall?
Sure, but
hence why he was being a dickhead that entire interview. Promoting some libido shit.
I think Cam, just to speak to that for a quick second, Cam is now he now is a part of the media.
Right.
He has a platform on which he has talked about Diddy.
Mm-hmm.
He's famous.
With Mace.
And Mace was right there.
With a person who has had extremely intimate relationships and business dealings with this person. It makes all the sense in the world to call someone like Cameron on, someone who's speaks his mind, is not afraid to say what he thinks.
As proven,
to come on CNN and to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think if you're gonna go on there when they're talking about a person who's done such heinous things such as Diddy, and you act in the way that you act, that's just a bad look for rap as a whole.
But you also got to remember, like, this is Cam.
I get it's Cam.
Think of the 60 Minutes interview. Like, you know how this dude operates, man. With Anderson, with Bill O'Reilly. Like,
Bill O'Reilly was like 20 plus years ago.
The producer should have vetted a little better.
Absolutely. To know what
Bill
you're
O'Reilly
walking
was like
into.
20 plus years ago, bro.
To know what you're walking into. And has this dude matured?
I was obviously not.
Exactly.
Obviously not. We'll never call Cam again for it.
He and Abby. That's done.
But I think
I felt bad. It's like, come on, bro. You're gonna do that. You're gonna do that to Abby.
That Abby. I will say the one thing else. I've never heard like silence so loud.
She was disgusted.
Like the whole, like her whole side just sound. I mean, like you could hear. I'm sure you could hear a pin drop. The producers was. It was just very like.
There was definitely someone in the control room like, what?
Absolutely.
It was just like.
But I think now, like going full circle back with Mace, I did find it interesting when Cam said, and he said it before on the Is What It Is podcast that he hosts with Mace, that when Cam was coming up, Mace didn't bring Cam to Puff.
Yeah.
Right. He made it a thing to bring it to Biggie.
Yeah.
And this was over 30 years ago.
And Cam he was like mad at Mace for that
25,
back in the
30,
day. He was mad at Mace because he was like, you got this deal. Why can't you help me out?
Right.
And it didn't come out till recently that Mace was like, I wasn't going to put you in that situation, bro. Which is crazy.
That's what we call a real friend.
Yeah, which is crazy.
And the hindsight is crazy.
Like, this guy.
But at the time, the foresight.
The foresight, that was the word. The foresight is crazy.
It's both. You know, it's when it all gets revealed, it's like, oh wow.
It's crazy looking at all of this. Like I remember, like the Bad Boy documentary on Apple that Diddy and Kim Porter produced, and there were things in that documentary that I couldn't believe he left in, because I'm like, you produced this thing. Like there's a part of the documentary where he says something to the effect of the only way people leave Bad Boy is like through Jesus or in the dirt. And it's like no one was like,
everybody said, oh,
you probably shouldn't say that. That sounds terrible. There's a part where D-Dot's trying to convince an artist.
That's some sociopath shit, man.
There's another part where D-Dot's trying to convince an artist to come perform at the reunion show. And the artist is like, I'm a changed man. I found God. And he's like,
wasn't that
And he's like, no. He's like, it doesn't matter if you found God. Like, Diddy wants you there. And he's like,
wasn't that Craig Mack?
Yeah, it was Craig Mack.
Yeah, Craig Mack.
And he was like, I can't do that. You know, I found God. And D-Dot's like, God will forgive you. And it's like, looking back at all these things, it's like, I know he hasn't been charged with anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all, I believe everything. I believe everything.
It's pretty damning.
It's tough not to believe everything that is alleged.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
Well, let's go to a lighter subject. It may be lighter, you know, for me, but I'm still gonna get in this bag real quick because Apple
Oh no.
Okay.
Put out their the greatest 100 albums of all time. They finally whittled it down to the top 10. We'll give you guys the notable R&B hip hop picks. So
But this was not just R&B and hip hop.
Oh yeah, this
albums.
was all
This was all
100
encompassing,
albums,
all genres
every
involved.
genre.
Yeah. Every genre imaginable. I could give them the straight rundown. Actually, I'll do that.
Yeah, just do the top 10 as it is.
So number 10, Beyonce, Lemonade. Number 9, Nirvana, Nevermind. Number 8, Amy Winehouse, Back to Black. 7, Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City. 6, Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. 5, Frank Ocean, Blonde. 4, Prince and the Revolution, Purple Rain. 3, The Beatles, Abbey Road. 2, Thriller, Michael Jackson. And number 1, Lauryn Hill, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Who wants to go first?
I'll just say that, one, it's crazy that, and I don't know, I have to go back and read this. Did they say that there are any parameters that they're keeping these picks within?
You know what's so crazy when it comes to these lists? Cats, especially on social media or for social, they never say what the criteria, the parameters are.
Right.
They're just like, here's the fucking list.
Because as people who make lists,
It is what it is, yeah.
the criteria and the parameters are very important.
We put that in the intro.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
internally when we're coming
Yeah.
up with these things, it's like, when we're making these picks,
Right.
everything has to be run through this filter or this lens.
Yeah,
It's tough for me to,
Well, see, I'm saying sorry, quick. It seems like it's Apple Music's sort of editorial team.
yeah.
Plus, they had some artists and industry professionals. I'm not sure how many. Of course,
Is
I'm
there
not
like a
sure
cutoff
who.
year? Is there like, since
I mean, if
since
they're going
Apple
back-
Music has existed?
Oh, it's definitely older. I mean, because
If they're going back to the
I mean,
Beatles.
well,
Yeah.
the Beatles
Yeah,
on there.
yeah.
I saw Aretha Franklin was on there, so
Right.
it's probably
Okay,
rock and roll
interesting.
era, 1950s.
Interesting. To me, Songs in the Key of Life is one of the best albums ever made by anybody. It's tough for me to believe that anything besides Thriller is in the same category as Songs in the Key of Life. So that was a weird standout to me. I love Lauryn Hill. I bought that album 3 times. I bought it twice for my sister. I bought it once on cassette tape for her and once on CD. And I bought it for myself on CD. That album's not better than Songs in the Key of Life. That album's not better than Thriller. It's tough for me to believe that a group of people came together and said, this is the best musical product ever. Ever.
Yeah.
Regardless of genre.
Oh, but like, I mean, okay, so you're saying Thriller, Songs in the Key, like, so I mean, you think Lauryn should be like 5 instead of 1? Is that?
One is a big thing.
So
I would still just love to know the criteria. Yeah, that's the thing that like kind of trips me up.
I mean, I'm sure
You
it was
know.
just. I mean, I'm sure it's just best. Like, let's just,
okay.
I mean, it is
Which,
best.
If
you
it's
know?
best, then I say I disagree.
Yeah.
Songs in the Key of Life.
but it's not like out of pocket. But
To be like in the top 15? No.
But it's not like. But I mean, like there are plenty of other like worst number 1 choices. Like, I feel like
You're saying it's not blasphemous.
Well, I just feel like a lot of because I remember like when NPR did I think they did a list a couple years ago of the 100 best albums by women. Like Lauryn was number 1. I mean, so the critical sort of list favor for this album is very strong, and I think it usually goes down as a pretty consensus pick.
Sure.
To be certainly a top 10 on most people's list, probably a top 5.
It feels very
clearly
safe.
Number 1.
That's what I was gonna say.
It feels very
yeah.
safe. It feels like an album that, a lot of people just, their knee-jerk reaction is, yeah, this album's amazing. And Lauryn Hill's is amazing, which she is, and the album is amazing. It's an amazing album. But at that level, like, we're talking about of all time. So in reality, every album on that list should be amazing.
Yeah.
All 100 albums should be perfect, like damn near perfect to somebody, right?
Sure.
And as much as I love that album is not. That's not a perfect album. There are, especially if you talk about like the context of it, right? Like the fact that people came out later and were like, Lauryn stole my credits. She did not produce that album by herself.
She still can't even perform the original live.
There's a lot that goes into the decision making there that is very puzzling to me. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'll say that to me, Songs in the Key of Life is the best album. If we had to pick one from that 10, I would go with Songs in the Key of Life.
I'm a bit calmer now. You know, in the sense that when I saw the list this morning, I was pissed, man, because like I was pissed, but I was glad because it's it's a full circle moment for Cardi B, and it gives her a roadmap.
Gotta mention
It
that.
gives her a roadmap.
You had to bring in Cardi B.
It gives her a
to this.
roadmap
Wait.
and a blueprint. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna get there.
Let me listen.
Because again, Lauryn Hill has released one fucking album.
2 albums.
One solo album.
She has an unplugged album.
One studio
I'm
album.
not counting the album.
One-
Unplugged's fire.
we'll say-
It's fire. It's
What
fire.
are you talking about? You're not gonna include the unplugged album.
We're
You just said it's
gonna include the
fire.
Okay, we'll say one studio
She has
album.
2
One
albums.
studio album. Thank
One
you.
studio
Oh
album.
my.
I
Cardi don't even
I love
got.
Unplugged, by the way.
Cardi don't even have
I
an
still-
unplugged.
Not yet. But the point I'm trying to make is
Yo, that Cardi B
No,
unplugged. I'm
no,
just trying to
Cardi, that be fucking fire. That be fucking fire.
I mean,
The shit that Lauryn has been able to get away with for 25 years because of one fucking album.
Great album though.
So,
Just saying.
but do you see? And the same shit with Frank Ocean. When did Block come out? 2015? 16?
16.
That brother hasn't dropped since.
I don't put Frank.
These
in the same,
kinda
I
lists-
don't put Frank in
but
the
look-
same bucket as Lauryn.
But listen, these kind of lists, they emboldened. They make artists be like, you know what? I ain't got to do shit. But 25 years and she ain't put. She said maybe last week because she was with her son. You know, maybe I might drop a second album. 25 years later.
so I'm so
25 years later. You see how problematic these lists can be now?
so I'm sorry.
I don't.
So
I don't. All right, go ahead, Trevor.
your complaint is that first of all, Lauryn Hill got away. You look like she like robbed the bank and nobody like if she
Bro.
puts out this album and people like it enough to where they'll pay to see it on the 10th
25
tour,
years.
the 20th, the
No,
25th.
I'm not knocking
How
it.
are
I'm
you-
not knocking it.
But it sounds like
I'm not knocking it. I'm
Why
just
you take it
saying.
back? 'Cause
No,
that
all I'm
sounded like
saying is
you were knocking it.
all I'm saying is cats can't complain why somebody like a Lauryn or Frank does not drop regularly because
Why not?
Because we pedestalize them so much to this
We do
point.
what?
We put them on a pedestal.
That's not a word. But
it was a word today.
Spell
We
it.
put them on a PDE.
just because we say this album is amazing,
PED lies. We put them on a pedestal to where cats don't feel like they gotta drop regularly anymore. You're calling this album so fuck it. Why do I need to put out music? Why do I need to put out music?
that's like saying like when there was a period of time where Stevie was winning. He won. You know, he was
3 out of 4
nominated
album of the years. Yeah.
album of the year.
Yeah.
3 years in a row.
Stevie ain't number one.
There was like
Three out of-
I
three out
forgot.
of- we got
Stevie
three out
ain't
of four,
Stevie
three out
ain't
of
number
four.
one.
I forgot who the artist. I
Paul
forgot who the
Paul
artist
Simon
was.
the one who at the end of that speech, in the year that he didn't win, he was like, "Thanks, Stevie Wonder, for not putting out an album."
Amazing.
And then
That's
Stevie
an
came back the
amazing.
next
That's
year
an
and won. It
but
was
guess
like-
what?
that
some-
right
Well, guess
there.
what? Stevie ain't number one.
But this I'm talking about. This is back in the 70s when he's like on top of the world. He's murdering everything, killing it, dropping fire album after fire album
course.
after fire album. He doesn't drop 1 year. Paul Simon wins, and he says what? He says thank you.
Yeah. The whole industry took notice. He's like, if Stevie wanted this, Stevie could have had it. And Stevie said, I'm gonna sit back.
And then he went right back to the studio and was like, here's another one.
But guess what? New artists out there, listen, follow the Lauryn Hill route. Follow the Frank Ocean route.
But let's
Where-
okay,
No,
but-
follow the
But-
Prince and the Stevie Wonder route.
But let's also pause and say, like, what you're saying is not easy.
Absolutely
You're
not.
telling all these
Absolutely.
artists,
No.
follow Lauryn Hill route.
But
That
I'm
means-
gonna say this.
so what
Go
you're-
make a classic record.
Exactly.
And-
Exactly. No.
Go make
You
an
put all
album-
your energy.
Go make an album of the year winning,
You put all your
genre-defying
energy.
album, and just go
You
do
put
that.
you
That's
put
you gotta
all of
do,
your
and you can
energy.
chill.
You put all of
Then
your
you can drop
energy.
Lucy's and
You put
features,
all
and
of
you
your
good.
energy into that debut album, and look at the fucking success and the rewards out of it. 25 years later, I could still perform. I don't even gotta perform the actual tracks. I give you some rendition and shit because I'll get sued if I actually try to do the original tracks, and y'all still will fucking come to the concerts.
To Trevor's point, I think
I could come late. I could come late as hell. Time out. I gotta say this.
but act like people aren't mad at her for coming late to these shows
They're
and
not.
for not.
Yeah, they are.
Yes, they are.
Ain't nobody like, oh yeah, Lord, late, let's go.
But I'm saying when they get on stage, they out here vibing. They be like, yo, that show was kind of last year. What was it with the Fugees, right?
Mhm.
The Fugees,
reunion tour.
they didn't even do the whole tour.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Sad.
saying? But hey, it was still sold out. I saw it on box score. It's still top 25. You know what I'm saying?
But you're
For
missing the
R&B
part where these
hip-hop.
people make like genre, as Trevor said, genre-defining music. Like these people made amazing albums.
So guess what? I hear you, and that's why Frank Ocean got away with a bullshit performance at Coachella.
Hey, I'm not.
Did he get
I can't.
away?
Clear, he's number 5 on these things.
Those things have nothing to do with one another. Those things have nothing to do with one another.
He's still revered. He's still revered.
His
Well,
album is
but the
revered.
album is
The
revered.
album is revered.
You can't.
I don't think people are like.
Well, you cross-called Lamarre clearly. You are dead. Everything you did, your family,
God forbid,
everything is
God
like.
forbid, Frank Ocean was to pass today.
What the-
He's gonna be
How the
etched.
fuck did we
Listen,
get
he's
here?
gonna be etched as an all-time GOAT. Off of what? 2 projects.
He's not going to be like in the
3.
same category as like Prince.
Well, Frank will
He's
definitely.
not.
I mean, Frank.
To us, the new kids. Remember, you got kids saying Playboy Cardi's the GOAT right now.
Bro,
There's
there's a lot of
shit
hedging. There's a lot of
changes, bro.
hedging in this conversation.
Hey, yeah.
I'm just saying, bro. You talk about future March Madness
Yeah.
being an all-time thing, which we're gonna get into. Kids don't embrace that. Kids don't. The kids now, they're not gonna embrace Prince.
But the kids don't embrace anything that the
But I'm
adults
just saying,
embrace.
you know,
Yeah, I'm
time
saying.
changes everything,
Now we
man.
talking about
I think that
kids.
there's.
Just say time
we
changes
sounded real
everything.
old talking about
Yeah.
the kids.
I'm just saying, like,
time changes
there's
everything.
the kids don't like what adults like. That's just like the fact of life. But there is a world in which Lauryn Hill, when it's all said and done, has an amazing album.
Yeah.
But is she in the same category as an Aretha Franklin? Is she in the same category as, you know?
So you're saying the album?
I think that's subjective.
Of course, like tops a lot of album lists. The catalog's limited to
catalog?
where she
Yeah.
can't necessarily like.
Does
you
the
think of
career-
best artists
Exactly.
of all time because I mean there really was no
I don't think so.
switch up, no change.
I think if they were to do like artists, I don't think she would be up there.
I don't think Lauren gives a shit.
Well, that's a whole different
I'm
conversation.
just saying,
That's a
She
whole
clearly
different
gave a shit about
conversation.
the number 1 album because she was out there also,
I mean,
out
they
there
brought it
holding
to her.
the
Shit, I
award.
would too. I'd be out here
You know,
cheesing
I
too.
mean-
All I'm gonna say, Cardi, this gives you hope, baby.
Oh my
Because you know what this means?
He's all
In
this
10,
just
15
to
years, when there's another list that comes out, and you're able to sit with Invasion, because we on what, year 6?
I
So in
cannot,
10 years, it'll
I
be
cannot believe
16.
all of this is over
It'll be
invasion of
16
privacy.
years.
I
You know,
cannot-
we'll see. We'll see what the standing of that album.
But
is.
you
Okay,
acting
so-
like people are like saying Invasion is not like what?
No. But I'm saying it's gonna climb that same way how Miseducation. After some time, it be,
So why
the
does that
value
give
went
Cardi
up.
hope? Like
She don't
what-
gotta do shit. She
Bro,
don't
this
gotta do
is-
shit. Just
this
show
is-
up.
This is insane.
Just show up.
This is an insane
Just
argument.
show up. That's all I'm saying.
I wish you could pull up the photo of Lauryn Hill at the Grammys with the arm full of the
Lauryn
trophies.
Hill. What's the saying? Lauryn
Look.
Hill crawled. So Cardi B could walk.
Oh my God.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh my God.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh my God.
I love Miseducation, by the way. Skits. Some of my favorite skits of all time, man. You know.
Some of your favorite skits?
Yeah.
That's why
man.
you like that?
I thought it was genius, the storytelling.
I mean, yeah, but what about the songs?
We're gonna go out on the streets with a camera and a microphone, all of us, and we're gonna ask people. We're gonna ask people because we're right across the street from the library.
all
There's
ages.
mad people, there's mad tourists from all over the world here. We're gonna
do a poll.
one episode. We're gonna go outside and we're gonna ask people, what are your thoughts on Cardi B's debut album, Invasion of Privacy?
I'm sure
And I
97% will be good. 97% will be
Cannot
good.
wait to hear what people say.
If y'all were at the real quick before we like jump to the next topic, if y'all were at the MSG show last night, the Megan Thee Stallion show at the Garden,
Yeah, let us know.
what a fucking moment. And I will say this, she brought out Cardi B, the pop.
I'm sure.
I've had people
I'm
text
sure.
me and say, yo, bro, I ain't gonna lie, she don't need another album. That pop said it all. And she was so fucking offbeat. So fucking offbeat. Cass ain't care. I ain't care.
I think you're conflating
I
a
ain't
number
care.
of
I'm
points
just
to
saying.
make an argument that Cardi B doesn't have to release another album. But we will get
We'll get
back
to
to that.
that. We'll get to
because
that.
we're gonna have an entire
We'll get-
episode
we'll get-
dedicated just to that.
I'm gonna tell Cardi to come
I
to
can't
Billboard
wait.
Unfiltered.
Yo, come through, Cardi.
Oh,
please,
please.
come through.
Please.
Yeah, we your biggest supporters. But like
Carl
I said,
is your biggest supporter.
I got
I
no
think-
issue.
I like you. I think you make good music.
Yeah.
they trying to clean it up.
But Carl is your
I
biggest
never would-
supporter.
You know
They
what?
trying to clean it up.
You know
Oh my
what?
God.
Just
Let's go to
shout
Spotify.
Out, yeah, just
So, continuing with list week, Spotify released their 100 greatest rap songs of the streaming era. We'll go through the top 10.
The streaming era is when to when now?
20, I would say 2015.
I think 2015 is the
present?
general kind of accepted start of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Even though
2015, the present.
obviously streaming was around a couple years before that, but I think for most people that's kind of when it started to take hold.
Yeah.
Like 2015, 16 kind of. Well, I guess it has to be 2015 because spoiler, what's coming up?
Yeah.
All right.
So we'll start with the top 10, 10 through 1, work our way down. Juice
These
WRLD,
are all rap.
all rap.
Okay.
Juice WRLD, Lucid Dreams, Pop Smoke Dior, Sheck West, Mo Bamba at 8, 7 Travis Scott Sicko Mode, 6 Migos Bad and Bougie, 5 Future March Madness, 4 Lil Uzi Vert EXO Tour Life, 3 Drake God's Plan, 2 Cardi B Bodak Yellow, Kendrick Lamar number 1 with All Right. Thoughts?
I think you give your thoughts because you.
Yeah, no,
You
I
were-
mean,
you chop full of
I
them.
don't want to just make this a Cardi episode. You know what I'm saying? But
You think it was Cardi Rob?
number 1, no, I wouldn't give Cardi 1. I probably would go with. I thought EXO Tour Life was like really a moment, and I think it
Yeah.
was like the apex of like the SoundCloud era.
Yeah.
You know, because the SoundCloud generation, man, that was a moment of RP XXXTentacion, Juice WRLD,
Kodak Black,
Black, Trippie Redd.
Yeah.
And, that song itself was like really the pinnacle in the heart of what that whole era was really made of.
Well, talk about the streaming era. I have to read what they wrote.
Yeah.
And shout out to Carl, amazing dude.
Great dude.
Cherry, by the way.
Cherry, not this Carl.
Good brother, though.
He, I know. He worked really hard on this, and he's been doing this thing over there. When I think about eras, I think about what defines the era, not in terms of like the music, but like what does this mean for the product that was created by the artists who were involved in it. For me, and I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on this, the streaming era to me is defined by an explosion in access. So a number of artists were able to produce things and distribute things in a way that they weren't before. We were able to have access to things in a way that we weren't before. There were new mechanisms for people to get that music. So like, I think of, Spotify's Rap Caviar, all these playlists that allowed people to more easily digest the music. It took over radio. So when I think about that, yeah, I think about EXO Tour Life because I think about mixtapes kind of going away, even though they were still there, but the idea of them just being completely digital, ephemeral, just streaming completely. You brought up SoundCloud, the idea of these artists, uploading things themselves, blowing up like Juice WRLD, and then figuring out the back end and the business afterwards.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys did that. So to me, thinking about that and like what all that entailed, I'd probably go with EXO, or I'll say March Madness, just because I just remember that song being everywhere, and that was like the era in which Future became Future.
That was that beast mode. That was that mixtape era.
Yeah. I also think God's Plan was just a monster of a song. Guy comes off of a beef. Everyone thinks his career is dead. He drops the biggest song of his life. That was everywhere. So yeah, I think I would go at EXO if I had to pick one. But All Right was definitely a moment. It was, the world, or the country seemed to be on fire. Kendrick drops this album that everyone is kind of perplexed by, but intrigued by. And then nestled in there, he has this like really bright gem of a song that is radio ready, but still combative in the way that people needed it to be. Spoke directly to the time. Everyone's like, no one makes music anymore that speaks about what's happening. And Kendrick was like, here you go. Here's a protest song. So not mad at it, but I think I would probably go EXO.
Okay. Trev?
I mean, I don't know if I have necessarily a pick that I think would be the best one, but I do actually, I was thinking about your point that it's interesting for me that a lot of these songs are like the breakthrough or debut songs for a lot of these artists, because it does feel like, I think exactly that point about the streaming era opening the gates and sort of democratizing things in a way that people were really hoping would happen. We kind of saw it a little bit in like, maybe like the Crank That kind of era or something, but it really took hold obviously with SoundCloud, with some of the, I mean, obviously now it's through TikTok and all these kind of things where whether it was a dance challenge, whether it was, some viral meme, like I remember, first watching on the charts, of course, it's like, it felt like every 2 months, like some, sort of random rap song, whether it was Panda or Juju on that beat or, Lucid Dreams or something like this, where it's like, wait, who is this? Where are they coming from? What's going on here? So the fact that, that stuff was not only able to resonate just for those artists, but really go global, I think is like one of the craziest changes that we've seen come out of the streaming era.
Right.
And then you have, of course, like Lucid Dreams, you have Bodak Yellow. I mean, I remember Bodak Yellow was one of those few times that I guess I felt like a lot of people I knew, and people don't even really, watch charts like that, they were very interested. Like, can Cardi really do this? Like, can, this Love and Hip Hop, she has this song, it's kind of bubbling, and you hear it like it's such a people's champ kind of record. It's kind of like what happened with Kendrick and Not Like Us, where people were like, this is really gonna happen? Like the way the chart and just the culture discussion intersected in that kind of week was absolutely crazy. I remember being in an edit meeting, and when I announced like, oh, Cardi's gonna be #1 Bodak Yellow this week, like people clapped. Like they were really just like we did it. And it's like, wow, like,
did it, Joe?
I mean, really, it had that kind of feel. I was
did it,
like,
B.
everybody was really rooting for this thing to go all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that list is probably, I mean, honestly, God's Plan is probably the one that kind of made me go, for a minute, because I don't know if it's really among, I don't know, Drake fans, even casual Drake listeners, I'm not sure that's, people's favorite Drake song. Obviously, I don't know if it's because it's set up that year, because that 2018 we know was just run. I mean, absolutely one of the biggest years that anyone's ever had, in terms of streams, charts, album discussion. Like you had that, Come Nice for What, In My Feelings, all the other random. We were talking about Yes Indeed, what's up? Look Alive.
Yeah.
I mean, all those things that we like you almost forget. Like those were massive hits, and it's like they weren't even the top 5 songs he had that year. So that one kind of threw me for a little bit, and then I do think the point about All Right is probably, but of course, what Kendrick means to this era is obviously, he's so intertwined with the past 10 years of music. I think back to that Grammy performance where, it was the sort of prison,
that was good.
And especially at a time when I think a lot of people think that there's no real live performances, award shows don't have that kind of moment. And I know it wasn't like in the past 3 or 4 years, but that's one of the ones in the past 10 years where it's like, I remember. Like he did something with that, and he took that song to a new level. And if you wanted to try to pretend like it's not really about, it's just about feeling good and everybody, it's like, no, this is what this song is about.
We're all gonna be all right.
No, we're not gentrifying all right.
Yeah. Can I pose you guys this question, because I do think of the streaming era, as you guys were both saying, as where the focus and the emphasis really was on singles. Hence why the playlists are booming the way they are. Because of these singles booming, has that affect the overall quality in how artists view projects today?
Probably. I think like Drake and Kendrick out of that list are probably the 2 most traditional artists.
Good old Future in there.
Yeah, and Future. Yeah. I think there's a new age of artists who don't look at albums in quite the same way that we did, don't look at them as like a singular thought in the way that, we're used to experiencing them. You see like, I think of like Whole Lotta Red, and it's like, it's an album by name, but like, what is that, right? Like what conjoins all of these songs?
No
I have no idea.
No clue. Still to this day.
I like a lot of them, but like, what's the thing that holds it together outside of it just being released together at the same time? I don't know if they think of albums in that way. Also, you can have a career, as we've seen, with just a song.
Yeah.
You don't need to have that album anymore. You can just have that one fire record that just catapults you, and then you make a couple of more songs so you can perform something when you go on the Rolling Loud stage, and then that's it.
It's a little 9-minute set.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think that same point. I mean, singles. One of the nice things about singles is that they're able to react so quickly. You know, you see artists nowadays, they can make a single in 3 days. You know, clearly what we saw with Kendrick and Drake, and of course, I know everybody ain't got that kind of infrastructure, but it's way more accessible than it ever was before.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's funny, I think on the flip side, like the talk so much about albums, and, you know, as soon as somebody puts out a single, the first question, okay, where's the project? Where's the full thing? I think we put so much more pressure on, like, you better come with a good album, because, you know, because hey, we're here today, but we ain't got to be here tomorrow. You know, it's like, oh, I like this song, and it's almost like we kind of expect that people can't follow up in a weird way. It's like we want them to. I think, especially if, you know, I'm not saying people root against them, but it's almost like the default is, but I just don't. You know, I won't be surprised when this album comes out and it's not gonna happen.
Like to your earlier point, we see so many new artists now that pop up out of nowhere. We have no idea where they came from. Never heard of them before. They were on a TikTok challenge, or they made a TikTok video, and now they're charting. And so our only barometer is like, can you make an album, or was this a fluke?
Did you you luck into this kind of thing that
And so that's it's kind of like our defense mechanism to be like, before I become a fan of yours, can you do this?
Right.
Or are you just here for this thing?
And I mean, and you know, part of that also is, you know, we put so much pressure on things like first week numbers and all these kind of metrics that, you know, are quick to say, didn't work, didn't happen, knew it, you know.
You know what's crazy though? I think of somebody like Ice Spice, you know, who's kind of just been doing her own thing with the singles and the features. I know she put out the EP, but it's almost been 2 years since she popped off, and she's have yet still to drop a debut album.
Crazy.
You know, so just being able to churn out these kind of singles, these hit singles and features, you know, with such regularity to like high success, it's kind of like.
But even that, you know, it's pretty rare. That,
it's very rare. Very rare.
That she is someone able to, you know, pump out top 10, top 20 singles pretty regularly, and I think that sort of helps alleviate the worry about the album. It's like, okay, her quality is pretty consistent. We know she can, you know, so there's no concern about like, oh, you know, you're just gonna be a one single artist and you know, off to the graveyard.
Dig it. Well, guys, appreciate y'all for kicking it with us. Join us next week for another fresh episode of Billboard Unfiltered.